you're just never going to know. And like we talked about in another episode, that's when you have resentment builds up, passive aggression builds up because that person can no longer share with you.
It prevents growth.
Yeah.
It prevents growth. Defensiveness is a barrier to growth.
How come when I did it last time, you didn't have anything to say, but you got something to say now?
So you were criticized, or there was a lot of nitpicking or over analysis of how you performed or what you did or what you didn't do.
Welcome to
Marriage Pinnacles Chats from the Peak, where God's favorites link up. My name is Dr. Lara.
And I'm Memi.
And welcome to another episode of Chats from the Peak.
Welcome back.
Y'all. How y'all doing? If you are new here, thank you so much for joining us. We would like you to stay a while. Pull up a chair, join us, get cozy, get comfortable, learn about yourself, learn about your spouse in the process, and stay here and learn some things.
You know what I'm saying?
Here on Marriage Pinnacle, we talk about all things relationships, marriage, and everything in between. And we do that from a clinical lens, a cultural lens, and a little bit of life experience. So hit the notification bell, stay a while, and we're happy to have you.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
You have gotten, you've always been good at that, but it's getting, wow.
Wow.
Wow. You need to teach me one day, y'all.
One day.
We've been saying one day for 2 years.
For 2 years.
Never been a day. Okay, so today what we're talking about is that moment when you go to your man and you're like, babe, sometimes when you do that, it makes me, he's like, here we go again. I can't do nothing right. I've been working all day to bring home some food, and you come in here complaining every day.
All you do is nag.
I feel like and then you just feel completely crushed, completely invalidated. So before you even finish your sentence, the conversation is over.
Yeah,
it's gone to a completely different place. And so that is what we are talking about today. We are talking about defensiveness.
Pull up a seat and talk to us.
And it don't always look like that. So we're gonna get to the nitty gritty because defensiveness can be sneaky.
It can be.
So we are kind of getting into that today.
Yeah.
So we are going to keep it 100 because this episode could definitely step on some toes. But we're not trying to step on your toes. We love y'all here. What we're talking about is how defensiveness is quietly sabotaging your relationship, right? You're both. To be honest, I feel like we've all been defensive.
Yeah,
I know for a fact I'm defensive. Like when it comes to the money, don't talk to me about how I spend.
Not too much.
I don't want to hear nothing about it because I'm very comfortable in my misbehavior and I don't want nobody to talk to me about it. So, but I'm growing.
You are growing. Can you acknowledge
I've
the growth,
grown.
please?
That's the old me. We talking about the old me.
Yeah.
So there's an old Memi and there's a new Memi. So you got to ask who you talking about. I'm talking about the old one.
2026 Memi, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
That's my girl. We love her. But yes, so we are talking about that and owning the fact that you've been defensive up front.
Yeah.
And I love that we can all say that we've been, and I say all, me, Lara, and our producer, we could all say that we have been defensive.
Yes.
And it does cause harm.
Absolutely.
And we've seen the harm that it causes.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're talking about. And just, of course, communication is the foundation.
Absolutely. And so we're going to talk a little bit about today what defensiveness is. Like, what is the definition of it, right? Yes. And then what is the actual damage that we see as a result of defensiveness in a relationship? And then we're going to talk about how we recognize it, because honestly, that's the hard part. When you in your own world and you just be thinking you was just God's gifts and how you talk is just how you talk and how you act is just how you act, you don't really see some of the patterns that your spouse might see.
Yeah.
And so we're here to kind of break the cycle.
Yeah, facts.
Break the cycle that could have started from your mama's mama.
Your mama's
and then don't be African.
Oh my gosh.
Don't be African. We're going to talk about that for a very, very small part, but don't be African because then it's just sprinkled with defensiveness all up and through there. Okay?
I know you're not talking to me.
Yeah, low key.
My father is the.
Exactly.
I am from.
Do you know who I am?
You do.
don't matter. Doesn't matter.
We want to help y'all turn that down.
Yeah. And so we want to make sure that we set the expectation that this is not about blame. It's about growth.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. And so in this episode, we always want to say, take out a piece of paper, pen, notebook, something, do something. Because the thing is, with defensiveness, you can be right, but you can still be wrong. Okay? Being defensive protects your ego, but it's destroying your relationship. Pick one.
Yep.
You want your ego intact, but your relationship on its last rope. What do you want? Yeah. That's what we're getting into today.
Break them chains. Break every chain. Okay. So what is defensiveness?
Yeah.
Right? What is it? So defensiveness quite literally is protecting yourself from perceived attack or criticism. Right? So you're feeling nervous. You feel like I don't want nobody telling me. I don't want to hear about myself. So you feel like you're about to be attacked. You take it as you're being attacked. You take it as you're about to be criticized. So you jump on the defense. You immediately start saying, no, I didn't really mean it like that. No, that's not. No, I don't think you really understand. I don't think you get me. No, that's not what I meant. Like you defend. You're defending the problem before you even understand what the person is trying to say. You're defending. So you're defending before understanding, which is where the toxicness comes in, because you don't even know what that person is getting at. So you're in self-protection. Yep. You're in self-protection mode. And again, it is normal. We all do it, but it gets to a level where it can be destructive.
Absolutely.
So Lara, do you, from a therapy perspective, what do you think is happening in our brains when we get into that mode?
Well, ultimately, like long and short of it, we're going into survival mode, right? We want to be protected at all times. We want to feel safe. And anything that comes against that is a threat, right? Defensiveness is a defense mechanism. We do, and if you think about anything that myself and Memi like football, right? We think about offense and we think about defense. What is defense responsibility? It's to protect the ball, to stop somebody from infiltrating our territory. It's the same thing, right? Like, whoa, you're encroaching in my territory. You're in my space. I don't like that. I don't feel safe. I feel flag on the play.
Yeah, back it up.
Back it up. I need 10 feet. I need at least 2 feet, something, you know what I mean? And so it's the way for our egos to feel intact, right? And unfortunately, the ego wants what it wants, right? Whether you're right or wrong. So you can be absolutely wrong, but the ego wants what it wants. And it's always going to say, I'm right. I want what I want. And so it's always on the survival. It's always on the survival tip. Always. Always. And so defensiveness is this idea that you're going to protect your ego and you're going to do that at all costs. So it doesn't matter if I'm impacting you, our relationship. I'm talking about your mama, your brother, your sister, all of that.
We don't care.
In order to protect myself. That is what the goal is.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
And I think it comes off as like how you're saying it sounds like, dang, that's kind of selfish and self-centered. But we have to remember that is our body and our mind's job.
The ego is very selfish.
It's meant to protect ourselves.
Self-preservation over everything.
Self-preservation over everything.
Over everything. Yeah. And and it causes you to it's that flight or flight, right? So if I feel threatened, I want to fight.
Yeah.
Excuse
me,
me,
protect
what?
myself.
Yeah.
Because we talk about these things like, human emotions, but at the end we're very, like, we have animal tendencies. Yeah, that are still inside of us.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And it just manifests in different ways.
Absolutely. So, I feel like defensiveness it's your ego trying to protect you from your feelings, especially those bad feelings, the feelings that you don't want, the feelings that are just icky, right? And in relationships, however, the ego ain't your friend.
Gotta let that go.
You gotta let it go, baby.
Yeah.
Gotta let it go.
Yeah.
All right. So what does it look like?
Yes. So what does defensiveness look like, right? Because like we said, recognizing in yourself sometimes it's difficult. You don't really know. A lot of people don't think they're defensive. They just think like, I'm always right. Because
9.9 out of 10 times I am right.
We're always right. So yeah, I get it. Like, to be someone that's always right, it's really hard for someone to come at you with anything.
Yeah, it's very hard.
It's like, wait, what?
It's like, whoa, the 0.1
Yeah.
percent chance that I'm okay. Anyway.
Yeah. So one of the things, like, we're going to go over some classic signs of defensiveness. The first one is immediate counterattack, right? So that's like someone comes to you with a problem and immediately, like, you're like, well, you do that. Or remember last time, like, girl, what you coming to me with that for? You do it all the time. That's defensiveness. It may not seem that way, but that is being defensive, because you're not even hearing what this person is saying. You're already willing to completely deflect from what they're saying, because it's like they did it too. Just because they did it too doesn't mean
that is not the matter at hand.
That's not what we talk about. That's not what we talk about. And I had to get to that point. Like, look, if I bring a problem, that's not the stage for your problem,
baby.
No.
You had ample time to bring this up.
No. We had 24 hours in a day. I brought mine for 5 minutes, and you bringing up all the stuff I've done.
Don't do that.
No, that is defensiveness. So deflecting instead of listening. Are you good over there?
I'm very good.
Okay. So immediate counterattack. That also is deflecting instead of listening, like we said, and then bringing up past mistakes. So that's also not the time or the place for that. So when they say you hurt them, and you immediately list how they hurt you. That's defensiveness.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
So next one is making excuses. A lot of people do that. I only did that because no. That's and I think that we, in our quest of proving that we want to justify.
Yeah.
We want to justify, like, our actions, like. Instead of you just saying, "Oh wow, that hurt you. I'm so sorry," you want to justify it up and down.
Feel bad. That's my growth area.
You've been working on it.
I'm growing.
You have been.
Because one thing I'm gonna do is explain why I did something.
That's crazy. Somebody just called in the middle of the recording, but that's okay. I thought my phone was on. Do not disturb. But that's okay though. We won't continue.
We're gonna keep it pushing.
And so I don't understand. I had a reason to do what I did. Again, it's that over explanation.
Yeah.
Justifying why somebody felt the way that they felt, when all you need to do is acknowledge. That's all we're asking you to do here, right? And so there's nothing wrong, and hear me when I say that, there's nothing wrong with an explanation, but when you're only explaining and never acknowledging, that's a telltale sign of defensiveness.
Yeah. Agreed. And so I think that the next one may be probably the most damaging to relationships, and that is denial and dismissal. So denial and dismissal, that is when you're saying, that ain't happen, or it didn't even go down like that.
That's not what I said.
That's not what I meant. Like, you took it the wrong way. Yikes. You're too sensitive. I can't even talk to you no more. You're overreacting. That is defensiveness. And you feel like you are telling the person that they need to tone it down, when in reality, you're just being defensive and you're not accepting what this person is telling you. And the reason why this is the most damaging is because you have now made that person feel uncomfortable or unsafe to be able to express their feelings and emotions to you. And that's always going to be dangerous territory in relationships.
Sure.
So the minute you start invalidating someone's feelings, it's essentially like you have a water tap and you're closing the tap off little by little by little until the tap is completely shut. And then that person's feelings are you're just never going to know. And like we talked about in another episode, that's when you have resentment builds up, passive aggression builds up, because that person can no longer share with you. So please don't do that.
That's really good. So the next one we're going to get into is the victim mentality. And so your spouse brings a problem to you, and the first thing you say is, I can never do anything right with you. I mean,
these are so sad.
Just because I told you to wash the dishes, you washed them yesterday, but you didn't wash them for 3 days after that, and I bring it up to you. I mean, it's not that you can't do anything right. It's like, in this moment, I need you to wash the dishes.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
You're just not doing this right now.
That's it. You're always criticizing me. And that's when we hear those words, like those extremes, like always, never, like, those are telltale, that those are problematic.
Yeah.
Problematic.
Yeah.
You're always criticizing me. I'm probably not always criticizing you. I might have brought something up multiple times, but that doesn't mean I'm always criticizing you.
Absolute.
And then when that victim mentality comes up when you're like flipping the script, right? So like, I brought something up to you, but now you're flipping it and making me the bad guy. in actuality, I'm not even making you the bad guy. I'm just bringing up something that you've done that maybe was harmful or hurtful. And now you're flipping it on me and you're making it seem like I'm the bad guy. And when you make yourself the victim, every time they bring up an issue, eventually they're just going to stop bringing stuff up to you. Yeah. They're just not going to bring up anything to you. And that's that silence is not necessarily peace. That's death in a relationship. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And so some of the ways also, because we talked about the verbal cues to know if it's defensive. Mm-hmm. There are also nonverbal cues that you can kind of check with yourself and also be able to see in your partner. Yeah. Some of them is eye rolling, like, somebody walking and you're just like, oh my God, here she go again. Defensiveness. Yeah. If your arms are crossed, you're, oh my gosh, these are all, you're not saying anything with your mouth, but you're using your body to sort of express. Walking away. And then we already talked about like the here we go again face. We talked about that in the earlier. But those are all kind of body language tell that you may need to check to make sure that you're not being defensive or giving off a defensive stance.
That's good. Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier, when you African, and so again, not to generalize. Yeah. Not to generalize. I can maybe speak to my family. Maybe you can speak for your family a little bit. I don't know.
A little bit. We all the same.
We all the same.
For the most part.
A lot of times there are generational patterns, right? Because your mama acted a certain way, your grandmother acted a certain way. And so these are things that have just been passed on, right? Yeah. Where it's like you're not able to question. You couldn't question, your parents didn't question their parents. So it's like, how dare you question your parents? And, we're at the age where we have children and we're having to check that like our kids can come to us with questions and it not be negative taboo or rude.
Right.
Because it's, to our parents or past generations, it was looked at as rude to ask a question.
To ask like why? Like why can't I have ice cream tonight?
Yeah.
Like my kids ask me why all the time.
All the time.
Like they want a why.
Yeah. And so we have to get into this habit of being open to conversation, open to healthy communication. And like we talk about all the time, every episode, that open communication is what are the things that help peel back the layers of defensiveness.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
So why is it a big problem? Why?
So number one, like we talked about, defensiveness is damaging, right? Mm-hmm. It is a slow relationship killer. You're cutting off safe spaces to have open, honest, endearing conversation. Mm-hmm. And so the when you're doing that, you're quite literally shutting down the communication house. Think of it as like a restaurant, and the more you put into it, the better your restaurant would do. Mm-hmm. But the more you're taking out of it, the more defensiveness coming. You're draining and you're draining and you're draining this business until it shuts down. Yeah. Until there's nothing left. There's nothing that's going to hold up this relationship anymore. Yeah. So it's when you're defensive, the person that you're talking to cannot reach you, and then they just stop trying altogether. Mm-hmm. And then the issues go underground. They go within the person you're talking to. They start to bury the issues in. Sometimes they find other outlets, right? They go to their friends. They go to people on the outside to get that validation, to be able to express their feelings and their emotions, because they no longer can do that with you. Mm-hmm. And then, resentment builds, and then, it starts crumbling, unfortunately. Yeah. So, an example of this is if someone comes to you, if you're, let's say your wife comes to you and she tells you something bothered her and she said it 3 times to you. She tries to bring this up to you. Let's say she doesn't appreciate that you don't let her know when you're coming home late from work. Like she expected you to be home by 5 and work is running late, but you don't send her a text. You don't let her know. And this bothers her. This is getting to her. And so the first time she brings it up to you, you're like, I'm working. Like, what's the problem? Like, I'm at work. Like, I don't have the bandwidth to be texting you all the time. Defensiveness, right? The next time she comes to you, it's like, okay, but when you went out with your friends last week, you didn't call me when you was coming home late. That's defensiveness. That's another form of defensiveness. And that's the second time. She comes to you again and you're still defensive. Guess what happens? she's not going to keep coming to you, right? She's done talking to you about it. And now she's going to start pulling away. Because if you continue this behavior, you're going to continue to push her away. And she's tried to come to you about it, but you have not been receptive. You've not been open. You've not asked her why that bothers her. You've not asked her if there's something else that you can do, maybe giving her your location, maybe something to make her feel comfortable or safe. You're not doing that. Okay, so guess what? She's going to pull away. She's going to become distant. She's going to probably lose trust for you. You see, there's a snowball of problems all from defensiveness. So think about it as every time you're getting defensive, you're teaching your partner that it is not safe to be honest with you. And then eventually, they're going to stop trying.
That's good. And so after, communication, which we already talked about, is something that can really erode. We also recognize that sometimes there's just an invalidation of the experience, right? And so when I get defensive, I'm saying that your feelings don't matter. Yeah. I'm my feelings supersede yours, even though you're the one who brought a complaint or a concern to me. And you're making it about I'm making it about how I feel rather than making it about hearing how the other person feels. And that's so problematic because ultimately, right, we want situations where even if, there's a saying where you can have an experience, you don't necessarily have to judge it good or bad, right? So just because I don't like something doesn't mean I don't have to have the conversation. And unfortunately, defensiveness is like, I need to protect myself because I don't want to have this difficult conversation. Yeah. I don't want to talk about this really big issue that I'm having. You just
don't want to open up.
Right. And so we need to make sure that we're validating first. So like I've mentioned, you can disagree with something, but we need to validate the experience of someone sharing something with us because first of all, sometimes it takes a lot for somebody to bring information to you. Yeah. And so I think that it's important for us to, like Memi talked about, so I'm not even going to beat it with a dead horse, but like when you're constantly invalidated, you don't share anymore. You withdraw. You realize that this person is not a safe space for me, so I cannot trust them. So I'm not going to open that part of myself up to them. Yeah. And that's problematic on so many levels because when you're in a partnership, that vulnerability needs to be there. And so that is problematic. And so you can't really use logic. And you can't really use logic to create spaces where somebody can't share their feelings. Like you can't brainiac your way out of somebody's feelings. How they feel is how they feel. And you need to make sure that they are given the space to feel how that they feel. Defensiveness just really makes them feel worse, to be honest.
Yeah. And I think the next thing that happens or what makes defensiveness so dangerous is that it creates this cycle, right? And we kind of touched on it earlier, but it's the cycle of I'm trying to communicate, but you get defensive. And then now I'm frustrated and then you get even more defensive. And so this fight just kind of snowballs and continues until the conversation is either completely escalated to where we're totally flooded and nothing is getting accomplished, or we're just completely shutting down. So in these scenarios, nobody wins. We're both taking L's because now we have this problem that someone tried to address. But because of defensiveness, the problem not only had the problem gotten bigger, but now it's going to go on for longer, right? And you probably said some stuff in there that's going to make it worse too. Absolutely. In the argument. Absolutely. And so over time, when this pattern continues, and I want you guys to be real. This is something that's happening. Like, let us know in the comments if you've experienced this. But the pattern just gets harder and harder to break. Yeah. So the problem is that defensiveness breeds defensiveness. Yeah. Because we talked about self-preservation. And so when if I know you're a defensive person, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to step it up. I'm going to step up my defense too, because you're not going to be the only one defensive. Yeah. Like now we're going defensive for defensive. Right. Who could be the most defensive? Right. You know, and it's like once that cycle starts, you're not even talking about the issue anymore. The issue, it doesn't even matter what started the problem. It's like now you're just trying to be right. Now you just want to be because you've now turned it into a football game. Right. So I'm on offense, you on defense. Now you on defense, I'm on offense. We just going back and forth until somebody wins. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And, ultimately, what's the saying is like, nobody wins when the family feuds, right?
Yes.
And so
Love
it
that.
prevents growth.
Yeah.
It prevents growth. Defensiveness is a barrier to growth in a relationship, growth. You cannot it's basically like you are putting a barrier over like a flower that you're trying to have grow. You're trying to water it, but there's nothing that can penetrate it because there's a barrier there. Yeah. It's the same thing. Yeah. You can't learn if you're not being able to receive feedback, right? Like if I'm immediately rebuttaling everything that you're saying, I'm not able to take in what you're saying, process it, and grow and be better. And there's no way that you can improve if you can't even admit your faults. Like if you can't even admit that, okay, wow, I was wrong here, or maybe I didn't take accountability, or whatever the case may be, how can you grow in those type of situations? And then oftentimes, like Memi talked about a little bit earlier, we get stuck in these patterns, right? It's like a feedback loop, right? Yep, it just continues, and the pattern continues over and over and over again, when in actuality, we're supposed to be growing because I've received the feedback, I've taken it in, I've processed it, I maybe tripped up a little bit, but because I have this in the back of my mind, I'm working to be better. Yeah. But that doesn't happen when you're defensive. No. And like I talked about, your ego wants what it wants, so it's going to keep you from being better. Period. Yeah. It's going to keep you from being better. What's the next one?
The next one is, we're talking about trust, eroding trust and intimacy. So it's kind of like everything we've kind of talked about building up to this point where trust and intimacy does not exist. So at this point, you've taken away sort of like that communication culture in your relationship. You've now created a cycle of where we're both just always going to be defensive. And so now the emotional walls are up. There's no more vulnerability. Connection has broken down. Yeah. And we've kind of given up, And so this is worst case scenario. My prayer is that, if you're listening, you're not here yet and you're still able to sort of fix it and kind of start to tear away at those defensive habits. But the silent treatment becomes a new normal, right? So now it's just like nobody's talking to anybody. I have a problem. Just like, girl, I don't even care no more. Like, he not going to listen no way. He's just going to be defensive. He's just going to blame me for, So it's like it's broken. Communication is completely broken at this point, and defensiveness was the reason. Yeah. So it's like in to start with, you think you're protecting yourself by being defensive, but in reality, you're just building a wall between you and your partner. And eventually the wall, becomes permanent. We hope not, but it does happen. We see it happen. So if it's so destructive, what I want to understand also is, if it is so destructive, why do we keep doing it? So
I feel like there's there's actually a list of reasons why. Yeah. But I would say a lot of times it's this fear of being wrong, right? Yeah. Wrong?
Like wrong where?
Me?
Who's wrong?
When?
Who said that?
Who said that? Because it ain't me. So I think that's a big one, because a lot of times I think that we equate, being wrong or having a mistake with being a mistake, right? So you can make a mistake. That doesn't mean you are a mistake, but we internalize like being wrong. Yeah. We internalize being wrong. And a lot of times that comes with like perfectionism and pride. Let me not even get into the cultural implications of that as well.
That's my problem.
Pride that's up there. Yeah. What they say, pride comes before the fall. But it's difficult to say, I'm wrong. Yeah. I messed up. I didn't get that right.
Yeah, that requires a lot of maturity.
It definitely requires.
That requires a lot of maturity, a lot of self-awareness. Yeah.
And, myself and Memi are both firstborns. We talk about this like in past seasons, where we are both firstborns. We're a lot of times looked at as the example. And so we are often the leaders, right? Yeah. And so when you have that leader mentality, or being the first, or being oftentimes in charge, it's difficult to say, whoa, I got it wrong here.
That's hard. Huh? I like, we joke about like never being wrong, but it's because I genuinely don't like to be wrong.
Because why?
Yeah, like I go out of my way to know a little bit about so many things.
Exactly.
So I can speak on anything at any given moment, so I'm never wrong. Yeah. I don't like being wrong.
Yeah, and so like as the firstborn, as Nigerian daughters, it's like in our culture, admitting wrong can feel like you're losing respect a little bit. Like they don't value you, your stock kind of goes down a little bit. And so, but however, like being wrong about something doesn't make you wrong. It just makes you human. And we need to kind of put that on the table and accept it. Like we're all human. We're all going to make mistakes.
Yeah. And I think the second reason why people are defensive is because of shame and insecurity. So a lot of times it's kind of like what you're saying, to piggyback off that, criticism, a lot of times it can trigger shame, right? So it could be something that you're like super tied to, like for me with my finances. So criticizing my finances, something I was already kind of insecure about, but now you're talking about it and it's like, no. I beat myself up enough. I don't need to hear from you, you know? And, but what that did was keep me from growing, right? It kept me from being able to like look inward and say, okay, what can I actually do better to grow? Because you're picking at those like, I'm not good enough wounds. Like I suck at this. I need improvement on this. And then it's like my self-worth in that regard was already so fragile. So it's like anybody bringing up anything about it, I'm going to bark. I'm going to like I'm going to jump on you because I don't want to hear it. So it's like the more defensive I was, it was obvious how deep my wound was.
Yeah, that's good.
And so if you can't handle feedback without falling apart, it's typically not your partner. It's about you, baby. It's a relationship about yourself. It's something on the inside that you need to work on. If feedback triggers you, if feedback is something that makes you want to, you know, go on the defense or make you attack, there's something deeper going on.
That's you, baby.
Yeah, that you gotta kind of like, sit with.
And I think that you know, leads into past trauma, right? You know, think about the family environment that you grew up in, you know, and this is not everyone's experience, but a lot of times you can see that individuals who grew up in really critical environments. So you were criticized, or there was a lot of nitpicking or over analysis of how you performed or what you did or what you didn't do. A lot of times that can be breeding ground. That trauma, that past trauma can be breeding ground for why you are defensive and why anything feels like an attack. Anything feels like an attack. And that could be because, again, when you were younger, you couldn't do anything, quote unquote, right. Everything you did was wrong. Everything you said was wrong. You felt like you had to tiptoe with the things that you said or did. And so that is a red flag. Like that's a red flag to hypervigilance. Like, so you're already like on edge that you're going to be criticized. So the minute somebody does criticize you, you jump at it because you're just like, whoa. This feels too familiar.
That protection again.
Yeah, it's that protection. It's like, this feels very familiar. This feels like a cycle coming. Yeah, it feels like a cycle coming back around. I dealt with this before. I dealt with this in high school. I dealt with this in early childhood. Here we are again. And a lot of these things are unconscious, right? So these are not things that are necessarily in the forefront of your brain.
Yeah, you don't even know what's going on.
Right. But it's the one thing that just triggers you and takes you there. Yeah. And so it's important to note that it's not an excuse, but it is an explanation. So we're not excusing past trauma, but it does help inform why we are the way that we are a lot of times. And so really, like we'll always say, therapy and things of that sort, healing is the work you have to do. It is your responsibility to actively seek out opportunities and mechanisms that are going to help you heal.
You just have to.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know how old you guys are, my listeners, but for us grown folks, you have to actively try to become a better version of yourself.
Yeah.
So the real question is, how do we stop being so defensive? Right? Because now we've told you how you got there, why you do it, what the problems, what issues it causes.
Let's break the cycle now, baby.
But how do we break that cycle?
Yeah.
Right? So the first step is recognition.
Yeah.
Right? So the first step is kind of going through some of the things we talked about earlier and asking yourself, hey, do I do that? Is that me? Self-awareness is the first step.
Yeah.
And also kind of notice your patterns. Notice what triggers you. So like Lara said, does it bring up past trauma? Does it make you think of like being criticized as a kid? Recognize that, own it, and move forward with that information. Pay attention to your body. when someone is talking to you or bringing an issue to you? Is your heart racing? Is your jaw getting tight? Are you clenching your fist like Arthur? Catch yourself before you respond.
Yeah.
So before, when you know all these things, you're able to say, I'm gonna take this feedback. I'm gonna take this criticism. Yeah. I'm not gonna deflect. I'm not gonna make it about the other person. So you can't change what you won't acknowledge. So admitting that you're getting defensive, that is growth. You're growing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And being able to regulate your emotions really comes with the pause, right? And so the next step is pause. Pause before you respond. And that helps in a number of ways because there's so much power when you pause. Take a deep breath, quite literally.
Yeah.
Like before you even say anything, catch yourself and take a deep breath. Count to 5 before you speak. And that could be spelling your name. It could be actually counting to 5. It could be counting backwards from 10 to 1, whatever the case may be. But let me think about that before I respond. That is a complete sentence. Let me think about that. Because our inclination is to respond with what you did do or you didn't do or justify or over-explain. But responding with let me think about that is a way to gather your thoughts, regulate your emotions, and then speak. Because a lot of times you're too triggered to even have a healthy conversation. You're not in a space to speak. And so sometimes tabling the conversation is A-okay.
Yeah.
It is A-okay.
For sure.
Yeah. And so responding when you're activated, it really never goes well. It doesn't. So pause, breathe, and then talk.
Really good.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite one is listen to understand, not to defend. This one is an extreme skill set that everybody in any type of relationship should have. Because at the end of the day, your job is to hear them, not prepare your rebuttal, not a comeback, okay? So one way to help you with that is repeat back what they said to make sure that you understood. So instead of saying, but I didn't, hold it, and then repeat back what they said. So what I'm hearing you say is that you didn't like this. Repeat it back and let them say like, okay, yes, you're right. That is what I'm saying. Ask questions. If you don't understand, ask questions like, okay, so what is it about that that's bothering you? Or how come when I did it last time, you didn't have anything to say, but you got something to say now? Like you can ask clarifying questions so that you better understand, but it's not so that you can respond or be defensive. It's so that you can genuinely get it and understand. Listening, just because you're listening does not mean that you are agreeing with what they're saying. It means that you are caring enough to understand.
That's good. Yeah. That's real good. So the next step would be, so after you've listened, you've not defended. So now you want to validate. Then you can explain. So you validate first, then you explain. And the reason why that's so important is because you want to make sure that you're acknowledging their feelings before anything. Before anything is said, before you just justify your side of the story or whatever, you're acknowledging that what the person said is their experience and it deserves to be acknowledged. And so that can be done with a simple, I hear you. I can see why you feel that way. And not to be, I can see, well, I don't understand why you feel that way. No, I can see why you feel that way. Meaning you're able to put yourself in their shoes and see why they feel the way that they feel. So even when you disagree with something, you're still acknowledging that their feelings are valid and that their feelings are real. Then with all of that being said, you're able to share your perspective. And that is the part that is like important. Once you've disregarded what they have to say, acknowledge how they felt, and only went into justifying, you've missed the plot. And so validation really doesn't cost you anything, but withholding it does cost you everything.
Yeah. So the next one is to take ownership of it. Right? So you want to own that you were wrong. You want to own that you messed up. After you validated and you explained, you want to be able to take your part of the problem. You don't want to just continue to gaslight, right? You want to be able to say, I was wrong. Yeah. You're right. Like I shouldn't have did that. Yeah. And then you want to apologize without the buts. So important. Take the butt out. Because I love a good butt, honey. But take it out. Just say, I'm sorry.
Period. Full stop.
I'm sorry is a full
Full
sentence.
stop.
I'm sorry is a full sentence.
Yeah.
And own your part. If you did have a part, right? Own your part. Stop keeping the score. And taking ownership is also realizing like, okay, I need to work on something.
Mm-hmm.
There's something within me that I need to actually work on.
Yeah.
So that is you doing the work. That is you going to get therapy. That is you getting a trusted mentor. That is you praying about it.
Mm-hmm.
That is you trying to actually fix what the issue is. Yeah. And so that you don't have to keep being defensive about something you may have a soft spot about or something you feel insecure about. Actually try to do the work and get help with that. So
that's good. All right. And the last one is ask for what you need. Yeah. Above all, if it's their delivery that's triggering you, say so in a calm manner. Because oftentimes what happens is they become defensive. You don't like their tone. You address their tone. And now the conversation becomes about that as opposed to the matter at hand.
That is a good one.
Yeah. So being able to calmly state that you're feeling triggered or that the tone in which your partner's speaking to you, you're not really agreeing with it, being able to communicate that effectively goes a long way to keep the conversation about the topic at hand. And so you can always say, I want to hear what you're having to say. But when you yell or when you use this tone or when you bring up the past, it's hard for me to listen. Can we try again? That's an easy sentence that you can say. And again, if you have a different approach, that's all right too. But you want to make sure that you're saying what you need in the moment. Yeah. And remember that you still, upon all, have to listen. Yeah. You still have to listen to what is being said to you, whether or not you agree. Yeah. So making sure you take responsibility for your triggers, but you can also ask for respect in the process. And so we want to make sure that you use these steps to help break the cycle of defensiveness.
Yep. And wrapping up, we kind of gave you a lot. This was kind of a content heavy episode, but I think defensiveness is just, it required it. We're not even done. Like there might be a part 2 because defensiveness, I feel like is something that is so damaging. And I think people do not really recognize or talk about enough. So the good news is that defensiveness can change. Yeah. It's not a personality trait. Like it is something that you can actually work on. You're not stuck in this pattern forever, but both people have to want to grow. Yeah. Like with anything in any relationship work that we talk about, both people have to want to grow. And small improvements do make a big difference. So we gave you 6 steps. If you just try one of those, you will start to see changes in that.
So we have a little challenge for you guys. We want over the next week, we want you guys to, when your partner brings up something, instead of you reacting like you normally would, we would like you to pause and listen. Pause and listen. So there's no rebuttal. There's no response. There's no justification. There's none of that. You're pausing and you're listening. And then in your body, what is your first response? Like, is your first response to become defensive? Notice that. And then use one of the strategies, just one strategy that we talked about, and track your progress this week. And we want you guys to remember that communication is a skill. It is something you are constantly having to work at. You are constantly having to. But when you practice something, practice makes perfect, right? And so we know communication isn't perfect, but that practice is muscle memory, and it helps you utilize a skill better and better and better and better. And so be willing. Be willing. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be willing. And remember that your relationship is worth the discomfort. It is worth having to do something different. It is worth trying something different. That's the goal at the end of the day.
Yeah, because the fact of the matter is you can be defensive and alone and alone in the marriage, like alone in a relationship by yourself, or you can tone it down, you can be humble, and you can stay connected, right? You can't have both. So it's just remember that every time you are choosing your ego over your understanding, you're choosing distance over intimacy. So the next time your partner tries to tell you something, put down your shield, open your ears, and
listen.
You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen. Your relationship is going to thank you, and we will see you at the peak.
Come on now. If you like this episode, you like one of the steps, you like one of the things about the cycles to be broken, put it in the comments. Yep. Leave us a like, a comment, turn on your notification bell, and join us for another episode from Chats from the Peak.
Bye.